what might be the geekiest thing you've ever done?
The human Centi-pumpkin. Which is that?
Oh.
What? So
good if you're a masochist.
He had taken some roadkill and was shellacking it into a painting. She is exuding sexual energy here. It's as real as the fact that I'm wearing pants. When
I've got a glue gun and I know how to use it.
I was bitten by a radioactive Chris Hardwick. What's that supposed to mean?
Chris Gore.
Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. This is the show where you get to hear me as a guest each week on a different podcast. I get to talk about a variety of topics. You get to discover a whole bunch of different podcasts. This week I was on a show called Geek Cred. And Geek Cred is this show. It's actually hosted by a guy named Steve It's pronounced Rickyberg. Steve Rickyberg. There's a guy named Steve Rickyberg. He's in Atlanta, Georgia, and we recorded this live at Dragon Con in front of an audience. But I think appropriate to talking about a show called Geek Cred would be having one of my favorite actor comedians on my show, Fred Stoller. I'm actually in Fred Stoller's apartment. It's a palatial apartment in Los Angeles. Fred, say hi to the PodCRASH listeners.
Hi, PodCRASH listeners. Yes, this is my place, and I feel nervous because it's an apartment, not a house, and people, they look at my credits, or mostly women, dates, and they look, I hate the IMDb because they give you things that you did for free or stupid things, and they go, oh, you must have a house, you could help me, and then I go, I can't, and they,
but
you know what I'm saying, they add
you could own property in a completely different state. Like you could have a house, I've got, a house in Portland.
I thought you meant a state, and like, if I had more medication.
Yes, if you were in a different state.
So neurotic.
Right,
if you could function, Fred, you could own property.
Yeah, but look, first of all, I think we all, anyone involved in entertainment has some level of neuroses. Don't you agree?
There was a few podcasts that have rejected me. This podcast thing.
You were rejected by some podcasts? So I heard you on Marin. You were amazing.
Thank
you
and
so
Nerdist.
Much.
Thank you so much. The top ones, it's like, a neurotic comedian, you're killing, but there's three people like giving you the finger and spitting at you, and you essentially on that because it's a new shirt. Why should they spit at you? No, but it's, Now,
wait a second. If you don't know who Fred Stoller is the guy that you've seen in a million movies and TV shows. He's was writer on Seinfeld, also appeared on camera in Seinfeld.
Yeah, I am.
And when you see him, it's like one of those. In fact, right now, if it's possible, you're not driving, you can Google Fred Stoller. And when you see, it's one of those things where it's like, I see you on camera and I'm already laughing before you've even said a word.
So, but why? So,
because you're funny. You're funny. I'm because I'm hanging out with you. I don't know. I think you're hilarious.
When he rang the bell, the door opened. He was laughing.
I was laughing. I was excited to come to your apartment and discuss this stuff because you're a fan of my show. You've listened to episodes of PodCRASH, which is odd.
Yes, it turned me on to so many other shows. I didn't even know Paul Scheer's show. How did this get made? And the logo, he's got like a stomach like Junior. I was in Junior.
Wait, really? You were in Junior? I think Rabbit Test when I see that movie. That's how old I am. I think the movie Rabbit Test.
Wrote it.
Joan Rivers,
Jimmy
and it was
Walker
Billy
was in
Crystal.
it.
Billy Crystal did Rabbit Test. I forgot about Junior.
I was in, that was like one of the first movies I did. I had one line as a waiter, and like I had to put like this plate, it's his exact spot, and Ivan Reitman goes, I'm only showing you once how to do this. and that would make me freak. That's a good thing to make someone really at ease. Like, I'm only showing you once. Like, I had to, at a certain angle, put the plate and the thing and then get out of there and go, here's your food. Just when he goes, I'm pregnant. And so I'm freaking out. And then I can't hear. And because he's going, I have to make confession, I'm pregnant. That's my price. So Ivan Reitman was making me nervous. And then I put the thing down. He goes, get out of there quicker. Sorry, I screamed. And then you always got to scream when you do Ivan Reitman impressions. I go, but there's no room. There's plates there. So I was so nervous. And what's her name was very sweet, maternal, who played...
I would like to completely forget this movie, except for your scene, which I hope is on YouTube.
Well, let me tell you what happened. Right from there, I went to Dumb and Dumber, where in the script, all it says is a guy knocks on the phone, the booth, he wants the phone. So I just came from Ivan Reitman School, where they only show you once, and an AD comes up and goes, "Have you done this before?" I go, "Yeah, I was in Lois and Clark. I did this thing, but I can't."
Lois and Clark, you've done a million things. But you have a long IMDb.
Yeah, you know, and so then I do Dumb and Dumber.
You should tell girls that about your IMDb.
Well,
do they look you up? Do they Google you when they're going on a date? Let's funny. Let's set up the Fred Stoller date. Now you're taking out a girl. She's already Googled you.
This is a true story.
Okay.
Now you just know people Google each other.
Right.
You accept it, which is kind of, there's no such thing as a blind date anymore, unless someone's name is Lois Smith.
Right.
You know, because then I can't find her. So people are ready. They see me. That's why blind dates don't get that, but they think I'm rich because I've never been a regular, but I've had a lot of credits where I just come on as a waiter, or I slip, or people pee on me in those kids shows. It's always something stupid. So
people pee on you in kids shows.
Well, I'm exaggerating, but not really. You know, those broad kind of,
because those have to be like kids shows in Germany, probably. No, that would be really weird.
Corey in the House, where there's a food fight and I slip and they step on your head. You know, it's really, I'm like the Mr. Bill.
It's almost like they're beating you up, like an abusive way, like you would towards a nerd, but in a cinematic sense, you're being abused. Yeah, you're being bullied in that way. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. The adults are the schmucks. You know,
right?
It's okay if I'm a middle-aged guy to get my head kicked in and
cans of corn thrown at your face.
No, so women
paint cans.
Years ago, when Google was starting, you did it, but you didn't. It wasn't as talked about. So I had this.
Well, you would get to know them by talking to them with your mouth,
right?
Rather than like you've already looked and you've already made decisions before you've even gone on a date. It's like, well, I've seen the good and the bad.
And don't get me started with Facebook, and then you read their post and this.
And then you realize that they're an idiot because you're reading the post, going like, I can't. You think that's your political stance or this? You think that those are cool shoes? Woman on Facebook. You don't like Batman? What?
There's one woman on Facebook I had a crush on, like a peripheral friend, and then she said something about like, Alec Baldwin, I have a crush on him because he's mean. I like my men mean. And I want to say, how about Chris Brown, you schmuck? You know, it's like she thinks it's so cute, man.
And then you were immediately turned off. So
yes,
you were into her.
She thinks it's so cute that she likes mean men.
But I feel like you could be mean if you wanted to. You could do mean Fred Stoller. Don't you think? Couldn't you be the mean, version of you? Think of it as acting.
Hey, your ass is fat. That's called negging.
Yeah. Do that. See if that works.
Hey, bitch. No, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because then they'll say something back to me and I'll cry. You know, hey, you're old. It's funny. When I dating years ago, I'd say, how old are you? They go, I don't want to say. I go, come on now. I don't want to. Now, what women love best about me is I don't ask how old they are because they'll ask me back.
Yeah.
And
I'm at that stage.
Yeah, so it's like now I know what it's like to go, hey, we have something in common. We don't bring this up. It's so this woman, she took out a piece of paper with notes once on a date. Swear to God, she goes, now you worked on The Nanny. I heard Fran Drescher's difficult. It was like James Lipton.
What was she doing?
She had notes. She had things.
Notes?
She went on the IMDb. It had specific. She goes, why did you give up writing? Could you have made a lot of money writing? I wrote on Seinfeld a season, plugging a Kindle single, which Paul Scheer
let's get in the plug. Let's get in the plug right now. Just plug it like you're doing a commercial.
Okay, guys. It's $1.99. That's how much a latte costs. Ow, kid! Oh, someone from the coffee company punches me when I say that. Get out of here! Screw! Imagine who's the PR for coffee lattes? Hey, we got to do something that compare everything to a latte. You know what I mean? They got
it's cheaper. It's cheaper than coffee. So $1.99. It's on Amazon. It's a Kindle single.
It's a thing. It's a new thing they have, which is like, I didn't know it existed, but did really well, where it's a mini book. You download it. You don't need a Kindle. You could do it for your iPhone, your computer. It's like Dean Koontz, Stephen King. It's like a mini book, more than a magazine, not quite a book. It's called My Seinfeld Year, and what was it like? A misfit guy like me trying to figure out how do you write on Seinfeld?
Well, what's so funny is you say misfit, but I kind of feel like in that arena, you kind of fit right in, don't you think?
No, because these were like slick Harvard guys that went to school with this. They had a career objective. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know when I wrote on Seinfeld, I thought a writer makes a living because you're writing, getting a salary. These guys were 3 steps ahead, meeting Castle Rock every lunch, running off, getting their deal. You know what I mean? I'm just a guy thinking I'm working, I'm getting a check. But you have to. It's like it's a game. You know what I mean? Like, for example.
So you're basically trying to get the next job while you have the current job. They're like 3 jobs ahead.
And I was stupid.
They were planting the seeds.
I didn't even know I could get laid from it. I was so inept. I mean, I didn't know the cachet.
So wait a sec. You could have gotten laid from it, and then you just sort of missed that window of opportunity went away?
Yeah, I could have pretended, hey, babe, you want to be in a Seinfeld episode? I'm a writer. And then I'd stutter. Yeah, but don't tell Larry I said that. And
But writers famously aren't sought after in that way.
But this is what you got to do, and I can't do it. There's a comedy writer. I won't say his name because he may punch, but you got to be a blowhard. You got to go to like Starbucks and see some lady go, that's not how you start an act break. I wrote on Seinfeld. Really? Or you know what women like? Babe, I'll write your one-woman show, because every woman thinks they have a one-woman show. How do I break? Acting's not working out. Stand up. I'll get a one-woman show. And I'll talk about molestation or the time I slipped on a banana peel. I don't mean to put down or
slipping on a banana peel jokes, because that's pretty easy. That seems like an easy one.
I'm saying, you could see like in an act or two. So you always have these guys act like Mr. Fix-It. I'm gonna make you a star.
So can I just say my theory on that is
Chris, if you want, I'll help you with your one-man show.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's
you got to act like a know-it-all to get laid.
Right. It's seeking approval. It's seeking some sort of approval, which is usually women with daddy issues, which is probably a woman you don't want to have anything to do with.
They want someone to fix them. Going,
right.
I want to be an actress. I'll write your show. I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like
you have a show you want to do.
A buddy. It's like a buddy of mine says, when you see a woman who's really beautiful in L.A., you never say that she's beautiful or attractive.
You say she's smart.
You say she's smart because no one's probably ever told her that.
Or funny.
Yeah. Like, you're really funny.
Or quirky.
Yes, something other than saying she's beautiful or attractive, because she's been told that a million times. So if you say the thing that's not the same then as everyone else, then you've got a shot. You know what you've at least got an in.
When I would do stand-up comedy, and we'd be on the
stand-up comedy is like that will get you girls, right?
Compared to my life now, but I wasn't. I was pathologically shy. Like, I was a virgin when I was doing stand-up. I socially retarded. I didn't go to college, so it was like my adolescence. So I didn't know how you ask someone out or put your arm around them. When do you do that? So I used to almost want to guarantee we'll have sex. It would take me an hour to muster up the courage in a bar to say, can we have sex? Because I didn't know what you're supposed to do.
That, like, the first thing you would say, that would not be the first thing you'd say.
No, it would take me an hour to muster up. Go, what, Fred? I don't get that.
And I'll bet that there were women that were attracted to you that you didn't even know were attracted to you. You just didn't know the signs.
I don't know. But you know what I would do? Like, I'd see all these comics hitting on waitresses. So I used to think, what they're going to like to me is I'm not like them. I don't hit on them, which didn't work. I'd go, hey.
So you would go the opposite. You would not hit on them, and then nothing would happen.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd say I'm not like
That's
a sleazy comic hitting on you. Hey, aren't I unique? I would say that. Hey, I'm just a guy being friendly. Hey. Or you know what I would do? I'd be on the road, and I'd pretend I cared about museums. I go, what's there to do in San Francisco? And they draw me maps. Here's the museum. I want them to go, I'll take you by the hand, Freddie. I'll show you. We'll go on a roller coaster. That never happened.
All right, well, let me get in. I have one plug to get in for this episode of PodCRASH. It is our live show at IO West. It's the 2012 PodCRASH Awards. It's a comedy show where we're also going to be giving awards to podcasts. If you've ever seen the show live, PodCRASH Live is a blast. So that is Saturday, November 10th. It's at 7 p.m., so it's an early start time. We're doing cocktails at 6:30. The show's at 7 p.m. Then there's a VIP after party at 8:15 p.m. At IO West. You can go to ioimprov.com/west to get information on tickets. You can also go to facebook.com/podcrash. That's it's the 2012 PodCRASH Awards, Saturday, November 10th. at 7 p.m., cocktails at 6:30. There are a limited number of tickets available to the public. This is going to be a lot of people from the world of podcasts will be coming to this. Other comedians. I think Fred Stoller is going to be there, right? Are you going to be there?
Yeah.
All right, Fred Stoller. So that's you're booked on the show. Where can people find you other than Google Fred Stoller? You're at on Twitter, Facebook.
Fred_Stoller on Twitter. Facebook me or buy my Amazon Kindle, my Seinfeld year.
And so, okay, but here's the thing. I think anyone that friends you on Facebook should have purchased your book. So if you're friending Fred on Facebook, please buy the book, My Year on Seinfeld.
Yeah, My
Seinfeld Year. See, this is why I need you here to correct my getting it wrong for the show.
What's Facebook? I'm a nice guy. I don't like to reject, so I say yes to anyone on Facebook. I don't know 90% of my Facebook friends, but then I'll make a thing, and people who I don't know will insult me, like, yeah, you're a loser, Fred. They take these liberties, so I'll friend you, but don't put me down.
Don't be a Stoller hater. So I was on this show called Geek Cred, hosted by Steve Rickyberg, and it was in front of this audience at Dragon Con, and it's Geek Cred's a show that he does on a normal basis. This was live in front of an audience at Dragon Con, and so the audio's a little livey wonky, but that's all right. We talked about a whole variety of things. I got into I was talking about crafting on the show. It's bizarre, but let's give it a listen. You'll get to know more about me. I
think I've listened to almost all your things.
This one hasn't aired yet. We're going to listen.
I'm saying I will.
You should listen to this because you're on this show. All right, so let's listen to Geek Cred.
What is the origin story of Chris Gore?
I was bitten by a radioactive Chris Hardwick. No. What? I was bitten by a radioactive Chris Hardwick. Why would that not be a good origin story? I'm going to spread that. But I don't know. I just, like a lot of people who are in this room, grew up very nerdy and just sort of put all my efforts into my nerdy pursuits, making things as a kid, while other kids were out playing sports. Hope that worked out for them. I was an indoor kid working on Aurora model kits, and I got a newspaper out when I was a kid, which got me money, and then I realized, now I can buy the things I like. So I collected movies and worked at a video store through high school and college, and then I don't know. It's just one of those things where I feel extremely lucky because I didn't follow a traditional path. I actually went to college for 2 years. And at the time, my parents were kind of arguing about who should be able to pay for it because they were divorced at the time, and I was getting financial aid. I was struggling. I had 3 jobs going to college.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, you know what? I dropped out of college, and I read a book about how to publish a magazine. So that was how Film Threat kind of broke out. I started this underground fanzine called Film Threat, which developed into a magazine. And yes, thank you. Oh, thank you. Well, you probably have more issues than I do. But now it's a website, filmthreat.com. But what's odd is I dropped out of college, and then I wrote a book years later while I was doing Film Threat called The Ultimate Film Festival Survival Guide. And that book, ironically, is required reading in college. So, and I'm kind of a guy that, and I'm weird in the sense that, if I want to know how to do something, I'm really good at reading instructions and figuring out how to do it myself. And then when I realized when I was going to school for a liberal arts degree, that I was paying a lot of money to buy expensive books to tell the professor, yes, I did in fact read the book. In fact, I may regurgitate the contents of that book to you in the form of a test. So that I feel like unless you're going to college for something where it's a technical skill, I feel like that thing is. I mean, you can go both ways for sure, but I dropped out and just would read every book that I possibly could about film. And I went to USC, the campus of USC, and I made a list because USC was the dream. That's where George Lucas went.
Right.
That's where Steven Spielberg went there. Francis Ford Coppola. Actually, Spielberg didn't go there. Where did he go? Was it USC? Anyways. I went to the bookstore, the bookstore at USC, and I wrote down the name of every book that was there because I thought, well, if I can't afford to go to this school, I can at least read the same books as the students going there,
right.
And I did that. So I just bought as many books as I could, and then over the years read them all, and that's, I guess, sort of an origin story. And then my career is kind of splintered off into doing TV and other stuff.
Yeah, you do so much stuff when I'm doing prep for a show like this. Normally, I'm focusing on a specific topic or project, but with you, it's kind of hard because you do kind of everything.
Well, it's like I tell my friends, I keep my career portfolio diversified because there's no real way to, in the entertainment business, it's a freelance business. So it's like I recently did a thing for StarWars.com where I covered Celebration, but that's like a job, and it lasted a weekend, and now that's over, and now I'm unemployed again. But I've been consistently at G4 for almost 8 years now, so I'm really grateful for that. Right. And then, I don't know, I just feel like I have this whole attitude about stuff, and I think this goes into, like, bullying, which I think is a big... I think every one of us at some stage in our life has had to deal with bullying at some level, right? I think it's sort of healthy ribbing and competitiveness, which I think is good. That's character building. But then it gets off into sort of dark territories now, especially with the internet. And I have kids, and I'm really concerned about bullying there. In the school district they're in, they have a zero tolerance policy for bullying. So I just always had this attitude like, I don't care what you think of me. And that is like a protective shield against any kind of bullying. So I feel like... our kids get a lot of messages in media, and they'll get things like, you should recycle. That's in a lot of cartoons for young kids, which is a good message. There's another message, be yourself, which I feel like it takes you till about maybe the age of 30 plus to kind of figure out that. But if you can teach kids to don't care what other people think of you, it doesn't matter. I think that then becomes like this protective shield where it's like, you can be who you are, and there's you're not affected by judgment of others.
Right.
So that allows me to fail at many things.
Is that something you kind of had to learn growing up? Because you mentioned you were a big geek/nerd.
Huge, yeah. And I feel like because I had this sort of weird way of thinking that just helped me survive, through just like making choices in my life that no kid would make, about, dropping out of college and just doing making just stupid choices in that regard, not taking a traditional path to anything. But not like I did it on purpose. It's not like I planned this out to work out that way. It just did. So, Fred, I had kind of a non-linear, weird path, I think, to however I got, to me at this point. And you had kind of a strange path to get to where you are. I mean, you really started as a stand-up instead of going to college, which I almost think is like a smart way to go. Like Michael Blyden, who's a buddy of mine from the indie film world, also the comedy world, said to me, he's like, I think that actually doing an indie movie is like going to grad school. It's like if you could spend money on grad school or make an indie movie, you might be better off just making an indie movie.
There's two ways to look at that. Excuse me, seriously. At first I go, why do I want to go to college? I knew the real world wasn't for me. I knew I had no skills.
The real world?
No, I'm serious. I was grown up. I was like Woody Allen, like kids in sleepaway camp. When my father goes, I'm going to inherit his business. I had no business to inherit. I knew I wasn't going to be an ophthalmologist or how to do things, the way, no confidence. So I would see like weird people on TV, like character actors, Jimmy Walker, Herb Edelman, Rod Liebman. And I go, I could be a weird guy like in Dog Day Afternoon, the guy who chickens out in the beginning, or Charlie, the retarded guy. So I go, but I didn't know how you became that. So I knew the real world wasn't for me. So basically, I said, I don't want to go to college and be in a rec room playing ping pong, wasting my time, because I just knew I was going to join the circus, show business. So in one way, it's good, but then in another way, there's two things. First of all, like someone made a point, Last Comic Standing, it hasn't really launched anyone because you got to get your chops. Like look at Louis C.K. becoming a superstar in like his 40s that, stand up, those kind of things. You have to have life experience. And
he's inspiring to me, Louis C.K. So, taking control of his career and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you look at people like Todd Glass. He actually came from Last Comic Standing.
They did, but they were sort of, you're right.
Doug Benson also came from Last Comic Standing. A lot of those guys.
But it's not like American Idol where someone is known as the last comic standing.
Yes, person. But the American Idol is, in the words of Howard Stern, it's a karaoke contest. Let's be honest. They're singing songs that there's no original material in there. And in Last Comic Standing, which is a show that I personally loved, I loved that show. These are people coming up with material.
Nice guy I met, Gary Goldman.
Gary Goldman, yes.
Great guy. He's the one who I didn't know anything about the podcast world. I know I'm changing subjects, but I want to get back to this and tell me about Jay Moore's show and the Sklar brothers. But anyway, so I thought, well, yeah, why do you got to go to college? And that's where I was a virgin, and I wasn't really ready to make it as a stand-up. I didn't know how you talk to people. Really, I was socially retarded, and I couldn't look at the audience. I would make nooses with a mic stand, and
But I'll bet that they were laughing.
oh yeah.
Because the awkwardness, which I feel like awkwardness now is something that is kind of forced in comedy.
Yes.
You see this sort of forced awkwardness that people
I
using,
hate it.
whether it's on stage or even in comedies that
Well,
I mean,
like-
they're not
like
traditional sitcoms now, but I mean that awkwardness is used by people.
Bill
Whereas
Burr-
for you, it was real. You're the original awkward.
Bill Burr did a great rant about The Office and all these guys doing this kind of slow office talk
Where they're looking at the camera.
Yeah, and that kind of I'm a weird guy, and but anyway, it came naturally. But so I go, yeah, I knew screw going to college. But when I first started doing college gigs, and the activity committee would pick you up at the airport, I got what college was about. Not so much, yes, you need if you're a lawyer or a dentist a special skill, but just that they learn interaction, that they look the camaraderie, that all the
It's
guys in
socialization.
college- yes, and I felt sad because I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. Because doing stand-up, it wasn't great camaraderie. The clubs, it was people.
There's a lot of
cutthroat and
petty
you're by
jealousies
yourself.
and anger.
You're not
and
like in a play.
why am I not like this?
Why don't I get this
Why don't
spot?
I have this? And that person
Or
has
the
that.
guy from Carson comes out to see me. I didn't get seen. You're by yourself. But I really got goosebumps because for like a day they pick me up. I do a show. They take me out to the Denny's, bring me back to the airport.
Did you hook up with any college girls? Okay.
Yeah. One in
You
Madison
did?
was. Well, she was from Madison, but in Florida. Yeah.
In Florida. Ah, interesting.
Yeah. My father was a Vietnam vet. Shows how much older I am than people. And you know what I mean? Vietnam was my generation. So not a whole lot. It's all like a blur. But yeah, usually it was like almost like your sisters and cousins because there were these kids. Like I said, there was a group of them. You know what I mean? And one time I bombed it. I would bomb a lot because I had a low key act, and I had to follow once the guy with
No,
a harmonica.
I would say you're kind of like an energetic Stephen Wright. You know what I mean? Like Stephen Wright he's definitely low key. You're low key, but you're kind of amped and ADD, and I respond to that because I'm
more like
also
that
very
talking,
ADD.
but my stand up was low key. See, when I did New York in my early days, you could just do your act. But then when you went on the road, I would bomb it first because I realized you had to acknowledge them. Like I bombed in San Antonio, but then I realized you got to go, hey, here I am, the Jew on your territory. Hey, he's acknowledging us. Or, at a college, hey, there's speed bumps out there. Hey, he talked about us. Or I would pick up a newspaper. So it waters you down. You got to cater to them a little bit. Like, here we are. What'd you think of Mrs. Karamick?
Well, you definitely have to be responsive to an audience.
Yeah,
I mean, you kind of
You can't just get up and automatically do an act.
You definitely
I learned that.
You
But
read an
New York
audience
was
and
bad training.
change your jokes change your set based on who they are.
But in New York, I was bad training because you could just get up and just do your act, just get up there. I used to while I stand up there, they'd look at me and go, I was killed in Vietnam. That was once my opening joke.
And I bet that went over really well.
Yeah, it did. 'Cause it's so weird, just to, just say
You
that.
could recycle that with sort of some of America's current wars. You could do it that way. Just take all the pop culture references from acts of the past and just update the references. That's all you've got to do.
A lot of my jokes don't work anymore because I used to be really, like I said, withdrawn, have my head down and do weird, morbid, non sequitur one-liners. Then I started becoming more of a person with eye contact. And then I went through a phase where I was doing an imitation of what I used to be. And that's a lot of comics. I don't want to name names, but they'll do things like, this is my shtick, I'm this guy.
So there's people comedians,
They're too
you'll tell
self-aware of what their shtick is.
Right, so they know their shtick, and they're almost doing like an imitation
of
themselves years later, like what they used to be.
Yeah.
All right, let's listen to more of Geek Cred.
All right.
Frankly, I started Film Threat just because I wanted to meet people I liked. Like, I'd like to interview David Lynch. Wouldn't it be cool to go to his house? I think so. Then I went to his house. And it's cool. I've gotten to meet and interview and talk to my heroes. And
you're giving away the secret for why I started Geek Cred.
Exactly. No, yeah, you can meet people. It's like, I've got a podcast. You should be on it. But with David Lynch, I went to his house. It was great. He was working on he has 2 houses. This is a weird thing about him. You'll hear weird things about me later. Trust me. I might top him. But David Lynch has 2 houses directly next to each other. In one of the houses, he works and he paints. In the other house, he cooks. He will not cook in the house where he works and paints. The other house, he loves to cook. There you go. If you can do that, that's a good thing to do. But when I came into his studio, I really wanted to talk to him about he was supposed to direct Return of the Jedi. Did you know that?
Right, yeah, I heard about that.
When it was called Return of the Jedi, he was going to direct it, and David Lynch came in and was like, he had designed 2 races of aliens. One was the Ewoks, and the other ones were like I forget the name of them, like the Yuzza or something, and they were these very long-legged creatures. And David Lynch very simply just looked and said, George, you've got these really, really short creatures here. You've got these very tall creatures here. How am I supposed to make their eye lines match when they're talking to each other? Which was a very simple, logical question as a director that you would ask. Like, how do you make short characters and tall characters interact together? And, so it sounds like he used some of those ideas later in episode 1, but he just had no interest in doing it. And David Lynch, Return of the Jedi was too developed along for David Lynch to really have much of an imprint. So he went off and did Dune. And to that I say, Father, the sleeper has awakened. I love Dune. But I remember saying to David, I'm like, it's an admirable failure, Dune. It's beautiful looking. It's just like, it's kind of a mess trying to condense all that story material. I remember going into the theater.
Big, long book.
And I had read the books. I had read the first Dune book like 4 times. I'd read probably up through book 7, which was Heretics of Dune. And I remember going in, I'm like, it was embarrassing. Like, I took my mom to a screening of Dune. I was in high school or something. And I'm like, oh, here, Mom, you have to read know what these terms mean. Muad'Dib, what? So, yeah. But it was cool to meet him and talked about that. And in his art studio, I recall that he was painting. He had taken some roadkill and was shellacking it into a painting. So it was like this dead squirrel in the midst of a painting, and he was just kind of shellacking it so it was attached now to the canvas. So
basically, he's way more eccentric than anyone even realized.
He is. Yeah, he's the real deal. I mean, that's what I love about David Lynch. I mean, he's a guy who, took almost 10 years to make Eraserhead, and that is one of the first midnight movies. It's sort of like midnight movies and indie films kind of came along around the same time, because the whole midnight movie phenomenon was something that was manufactured. It was created. It was these movies like Pink Flamingos and Eraserhead and movies that didn't have a place at your traditional theaters that they just decided, I don't know, put El Topo on at midnight. Maybe someone will come see it. Alejandro Jodorowsky, who is that guy? So, yeah, I love I love that period where it was like, studio movies were like indie movies. Now it's kind of flipped, and then midnight movies were coming along, but it was definitely like the, sort of late 80s to mid 90s, like the heyday of indie film. And now it's a section of the video store if there's one in your neighborhood and it hasn't closed. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, the fall of the video store, but at the same time, I think you flash forward to now, there's a lot of, between the technology and the quality of the images you can get out of the technology, you can really do what would look like high budget productions just a couple of years ago for a low amount of money, and you can connect with an audience and distribute online, and you've got crowdfunding like Kickstarter. I think we're kind of in a really interesting renaissance for these really creative, independent projects.
You said everything that I would love. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and Indiegogo is also another good one for crowdsourcing, and I love that. I really think that's definitely a whole new wave and a whole new renaissance. Like the guy who directed District 9 made a short, put it online, and he was up for the Halo directing job and did District 9, and that turned out pretty amazing. So, I love it. But it's definitely more difficult than, sure, the tools are available, but then there's a lot of garbage as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad movies. Just because you can make one doesn't mean you should, or that will be any good at all.
They should make that into a bumper sticker. I would buy the patch and the jacket. I really want to know, are you a Star Wars or a Star Trek guy? Because people who know who you are, you're definitely nerdy.
I'm nerdy, but not
not when it comes to science fiction.
Not nerdy today means cool. Like I'm a nerd. I'm going to Comic-Con, meaning I'm cool and like into the things everyone else is into. I'm a nebbish, not a nerd. A nerd is like into cool geek things.
You know what you are? You're a nebbish-lebrity.
Yeah.
That's what you are. You're a nebbish-lebrity.
You know, like I said, it's almost like, I never had that camaraderie. Dude, what's your Star Wars? I'll trade you number 3 for the Han Solo one. You know what I mean? Nerds is, but I'll tell you, I did a joke in my act. Not a killer joke. When I was doing stand-up, I go, 5 minutes. You always got to do the honking joke.
Right.
This is a good joke. Could I still do it?
Yeah. Let's just wait for it to...
And I forgot how to do it because it's so long ago. I think the show Lost in Space was made for people who weren't smart enough to watch Star Trek. And I used to watch Lost in Space, and there's a show, there's this film, they're out in space, they're never going to get back, and Will, the youngest kid, he has to do homework.
Right.
But he did. And I think even on, what's that show now,
You would
Daddy has to do homework.
This would kill at Comic-Con. Why are you not doing stand-up at like nerdy events?
My one Lost in Space joke.
You could update it. Battlestar Galactica. They're all out on DVD.
But do they do homework on The Walking Dead? Remember, they make the kid do homework. What does it matter? What do you need good grades? It's zombies.
If the homework involves like swinging an axe or using a pistol.
But I wasn't a big Star Trek fan. I loved Lost in Space. I loved like Mad Magazine, Jughead, Richie Rich. I wasn't the geeky science fiction. I mean, I loved Chiller. Are you old enough to remember Chiller Theater where the hand comes down and?
God, the vague memories of that. But yeah, like I would just look like this is about me. I learned to read before I went to school to learn what was on television. So my mom was freaked out how I learned to read. So I was reading the TV guide, not because I give a shit about reading, because I wanted to know when monster movies were on. This is me at like 4. So that's a weird
When I
thing.
first moved to LA in '88, before I could afford a TV, I would buy TV Guide every week, and I loved reading credits, cast credits, like character actors, like what's his name? Paul Goebel does this. I just love
Paul Goebel, the TV geek. You should be on his show.
I have been.
Have you been on a show? Great.
I love reading who's working, and my favorite shows were I love the beginning of Love American Style to see who's on, or even The Love Boat. I just love seeing who's working. So I love before the internet. My dream was to be on, what was that movie thing that was like $30 a year with Screen World with all the credits of every movie, and I would read every credit.
Wow.
You know
I know what you're talking about. I remember seeing.
And there was another book. I'll find it for you. But before the IMDb, it's like TV, and every TV show is in it. And I just love reading. I love obscure black actors: Moses Gunn, Thelmus Russell, Lucilla. Well, Lou Gossett, not obscure. I'm just a geek with reading credits, and I just love the openings of even like a show I'm not into. I love, like, if I'm channel surfing, CSI or like Bones. Like, I love the opening credits to see which character actors are working. Justified. I bumped into what's his name, who was in Drugstore Cowboy, Max something, not Max Casella. But I just love reading credits. I love TV Guide. But
the character actors, which you fit in this arena like a comedic character actor. I mean, you're pretty consistently working,
yes,
right?
Yes and no. The thing that breaks my heart, well, not really, is I grew up watching Barney Miller, Bob Newhart, Mary Tyler Moore. And I thought there'd be a place for me. Could you imagine a show today like Mary Tyler Moore or Barney Newhart where... Barney
Newhart would be the updated of it.
Where there's a cast of not great-looking middle-aged men. No, it's like cool dudes, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or they're all like models that started with Friends. The last sort of show like that was Jude Carey. Even Seinfeld, a hit, they're not models, but I would have done great in the 70s, so I get a decent amount of work in the golden age of sitcoms, the 90s. Now it's sort of snarky. It's sort of like, again, really great-looking people on sitcoms. So I'm complaining.
It's just...
Well, someone said to me, you're better looking than you act. So I carry myself like a nebbish, a
Well,
schmuck.
but yeah, I mean, first of all, you're not a bad looking guy.
No,
you're just like, you know what I mean? Like,
No. The thing was meaning, I could possibly have a twin brother that gets laid a lot if he was confident. I'm saying it's just the way I carry myself, nebbishy.
all you'd need is a huge confidence penis. That's just a huge confidence penis.
Is this one of those podcasts? Is this sponsored by the Laser Light or one of those?
No. Let's get back to Geek Cred. But what I would say to friends who are indie filmmakers is a couple of things. Is to find the thing that you do well and then just do that thing a lot. Whether it be you're doing special effects, whatever your strength is, play to your strength. The other thing is make sure, and this is other things I would say, production value comes from cast and location. New York City as a location is production value. I mean, it's huge production value because New York is I mean, it's New York, right? So find a unique location. I mean, you look at some of the best indie movies ever made. I mean, Night of the Living Dead, the original George Romero in 1968, was shot at a house. It's just a house. That's pretty much the whole thing. Graveyard, house, and then basement. I mean, not much to it. So, and then also actors. I would avoid theater actors because theater acting and film acting are two totally different things. With theater acting, you're playing to a room and you're playing to an audience.
You have to project. You have to kind of overemphasize your gesture so everyone can see you.
Precisely. And in fact, one of the best notes, Jennifer, anyone watch The Office? Pam. Here's a funny story. I became friends with James Gunn and his then wife, Jenna Fisher. Hung out with them at film festivals, hanging out, cool. I'm at Comic-Con, and I see Jenna Fisher. And first of all, you should know, she's stunning. I mean, she's gorgeous. Gorgeous girl. Beautiful. So I'm talking to Jenna. I'm like, oh, what are you up to? You doing what acting gigs? She's like, I'm on this show called The Office. It's like, I watched that show, The Office. Who are you on The Office? Pam. Wait a sec. That's you? You're Pam? She's Pam from The Office, but because in real life, she's this gorgeous girl. And on the show, she told me that when she went in for the audition for Pam, her manager said, act bored. Just act completely, deadly bored. And that is such a great note because normally people think when you're acting, you've got to overdo it. It's really underplayed. I think that so to me, getting good actors, SAG actors, is a huge part of that. I mean, actors and location is production value. And then really have an interesting, simple premise or hook. I think that is critical.
Don't try and do too much.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. It's like, yeah, you're a lot of stuff that I'll see. It's like too ambitious, and then the whole thing is the first few minutes of your movie should just be amazing. It should be one of those things that just grabs you. So, yeah, just having programmed at some film festivals in the past, I think that I've just seen a lot, like every mistake a filmmaker can make.
Right. Yeah. You've probably watched a lot of bad movies.
Yeah. In fact, I would say that I've seen more bad independent films than studio movies. The thing is this, I'd say with studio movies, they have less of an excuse to fail because they have all this money, all these technicians they
do all this research and all these focus groups.
Yeah, they've got less of an excuse. It's like you've got professionals that have worked decades in industry, you know, like there's no excuse. They've got the money. Yeah, indie films are kind of like birds with broken wings. You want them to succeed, and you can see the talent through the flaws. It's like, that's what I do love. Some of my favorite indie movies, you know, they're not perfect movies, but they're entertaining, and there's like this fruity center of it, like a Skittle, where you're like, oh, it's chewy. There's something more here, more than just so.
Kind of a special authenticity.
Yes, absolutely, authenticity. You're the human thesaurus, Steve. You are the human thesaurus. Thank you. You're saving me on this. But I look at that because audiences, and we're all audience here, are forgiving of technical things. It doesn't matter if it's technically perfect, right? We've watched enough reality TV where I don't care if the camera's shaky, as long as it doesn't make me sick. I don't care if it's perfect. And focus on your audio, too. That would be the other thing.
Yeah, I was just say, as an audio guy, a little close to my heart.
Critical.
Yeah.
Audiences will forgive bad
video, but if the audio makes their ears bleed, they're not going to watch.
Absolutely. If they can't understand what's going on and the audio is bad, so make sure really clean audio, cast, location, simple, and don't bite off more than you could chew. and baby steps. I'll meet these filmmakers and they'll be like, "Yep, I'm working on my movie," and I'm like, "Okay, well, like, what are you doing?" It's like, "Well, I need $4 million." I'm like, "How do you know you need $4 million? How do you know?" Because normally the answer is, when it comes to an indie movie, is it should be how much do you need for your movie? How much do you have? So there's, in fact, I was talking to a buddy about this project of his that he was trying to get off the ground. I'm like, you know, it'd be funny. We should just film actors reading your script, because it's that would be an entertaining movie. Like, I would watch actors reading the script of your movie, which came from a quote. It was Roger Ebert said of the movie Wild Hogs, which starred what? Who's in it? John Travolta. Who else? William H. Macy. Like, a great cast. Horrible movie, but Tim Allen. But yeah, good. I mean, solid, entertaining actors, comedic actors, people that we like. He said he would rather see a documentary about them eating lunch than watch that movie. Which I think is because they're interesting people. And I think that, we discount that, like that,
Actors are people, too.
Yes. Well, I mean, just like, if they were really themselves and could be genuine and get away with just being frank about stuff, like, that would be awesome. I would watch that documentary.
Right.
Ebert's kind of a hero of mine. I love him. I really think that he represents sort of a bygone era. Like, there really are no film critics anymore. I've never considered myself a very good film critic. I'm an enthusiast and I'm a fan, but a critic, like, my flaws, I would rather be funny than give you insight. But I can offer maybe a perspective that other people won't see. And I'm not like, I'll like stuff that maybe I shouldn't like. Like, I love bad movies, good bad movies.
I'm sorry. Ever since I was forced to watch it, The Room just instantly comes to mind.
Tommy Wiseau, artistic genius.
Who in here has seen The Room? Okay.
Oh, love The Room.
Only two of you, but the rest of you.
So good.
Good if you're a masochist. Which apparently you are.
Yeah, but like, there is such a thing as a good bad movie. I think, though, if you try to make a bad movie, I think you can kind of see that. It feels false.
Right.
But there are those ones that just sort of like Birdemic, that just sort of plop down onto the screen and you're, what? I think it's because both Tommy and the guy behind Birdemic, I'm spacing on his name, they're delusional.
Yeah.
I mean, they're delusional. They think they've made a good movie.
Well, you write, direct, and star in the movie. I mean, that's kind of a red flag right there for The Room.
Lisa, you tearing me apart! I love that. Oh, hi, Mark. For those of you that have seen, you can look this up. You can look up clips of The Room on YouTube.
Yes, and be traumatized.
You guys don't know what I'm doing here, but I tried to make green sleeves out of duct tape for my Robin costume, but it didn't quite work. I have a different thing I'm going to do, which is why I need the scissors.
Uh-huh.
So this is what's happening while I'm multitasking and talking to you. Yeah.
So now, for the past few years, you've been doing a lot of television.
Yes.
So is that something you'd really set out, you'd always wanted to do, or did that just kind of happen?
No, I did not want to do television. I kind of fell into it. At the time, I was a stay-at-home dad. My kids were like, preschool age. I was a stay-at-home dad, and I was writing a book, the film festival book.
Right.
My then wife was working for Disney, and someone thought that what I wrote on the internet was funny. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Would you come in for audition?
What?
This was for a show called The X Show, which was FX's sort of response to The Man Show. I was like, we need a film guy. It's like, all right, well, whatever, I guess I'll come in. And it was that thing that, like, I don't care attitude. I feel it makes you more attractive and doesn't make you come off as being needy. It can also be misconstrued as confidence. I just really didn't care. I cared more about, like, raising my kids and getting my book done on time, because I wouldn't have gotten the second half of my advance from St. Martin's Press at that moment. So I came in, I just really didn't care. I was just like, went in like, whatever. Like, what do you think of this? And I just sort of did a rant that they thought was funny. And they're like, we want you to be on TV. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm just busy. I don't think I can do it. So the more I just said no, the more they wanted me. And then every job leads to the next job. That's kind of how it ended up working out for me. Every single job just led to the next one because I didn't care. It's like, it's sort of a Zen thing. Like, I don't care, and then I actually do care about the work.
Okay, so rapid fire time. So reaction time is a factor, so don't think too much.
Reaction time. What? Are these going to be serious questions? I'm not even through with my costume here. I'm just getting to the good part.
Answer with whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Dark side or light side?
Oh, wait a second. Can I go back to that Star Wars one?
Sure.
Prequels or the J.J.
Yes.
Abrams? Which are we doing? Are we mixing it up, or are we just doing franchise?
Franchise, sure.
I'll still go Star Wars, but I will say that the J.J. Abrams Star Trek is probably the best of any of these reboots that we've seen of late.
And the prequels do kind of bring down
They bring
Star
down,
Wars.
yeah, they bring it down, but the same thing. It's at the same time, it's Star Wars.
Yeah. Marvel or DC?
Ooh, you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say DC because that's Team Batman.
So Justice League over Avengers?
I'm gonna go Avengers on that one. Steve, did I win?
Live action or animated?
What kind of animation?
Any kind.
Oh, God. Well, it's weird also because today live action is kind of melded with. I mean, you look at the Star Wars prequels and it's a Muppet movie.
It's true,
It's
yeah.
a digital Muppet movie. Gosh, I'll just say live action.
Xbox or PlayStation?
Xbox,
Mac or PC?
Mac.
If you could have
Give me a hard one.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh man. Man, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, you asked for a hard question.
These are very nerdy. I don't know. I mean, the one thing would be like you could be. What's that one character from the X-Men where he would just absorb other superhero powers? But then that would assume that there are other superheroes to absorb powers from. I am about to explode. I don't know. I would probably do something that would be of a kinetic nature, like Invisible Woman. Like you could be invisible. You could turn other things invisible, but then you would also have like powers to sort of levitate things and move things. Sort of like I like her. I think her powers are far underestimated in the Marvel universe. Like that would be you could do so many things with that if you were creative. In a way, it's almost like having a Green Lantern power ring. It really is. It's how creative you are using that superpower.
So would you use that?
He said that's my long-winded explanation.
No.
He said overthinking it.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So would you use your power for good or would you use it for your own ends?
Well, I will tell you. Actually, technically, I'm a mutant. So no, I'm serious. When my then wife was pregnant, I would urinate more than her. And it was weird. I'm like, when you're pregnant, you have kids. You are a father, sir, sitting in the front row with your children, one would assume. I'm assuming. And when a woman is pregnant, she pees a lot. So I was peeing more than my then wife. I'm like, oh, this is weird. So my doctor's like, all right. Just, keep a chart of how many times you pee and how often or how much. So of course I got a little measuring cup. Every time I go to the bathroom, urinate in it, 6 ounces, 10:38 a.m. And I just kept track. Me being nerdy, I've got a spreadsheet. It's all very organized.
Of course.
I bring this to my doctor, who's like, "Oh my gosh!" Goes, "You urinate 3 times more than the average person." I'm sending you to a urologist. So I go to this urologist who does an ultrasound on me, which is something that, you would do to, make sure the health of the baby. It's the little sound, you get the waves and you see what the baby looks like. The guy looks, and this technician's like very dry, looks, he goes, "Hey man, you ever been in a car accident?" I was like, "No, I've never been in a car accident in my life. Never seriously injured." "You ever been to Mexico?"
What?
"I have never been to Mexico."
Because going to Mexico is so like being in a car accident.
Says, "I can't find your other kidney." I was born with one kidney. I have one larger kidney. It's cigar-shaped. And my superpower is I urinate 3 times more than the average person. So if I were in Professor X's academy, my superhero name might be the Urinator. My power is when the villains show up, I say, "I'll be right back. I got to pee. I'll be right back. I'll just be right back, guys. Don't worry. I'll be there." Or I could join the Brotherhood of Mutants. I have no idea how useful this power is. But yeah, I have one kidney. And if I'm working with people like in a field shoot with a crew, I always say, "Look, just so you know, I'm not going to the bathroom to do anything illicit. I am actually going to pee a lot because I am physically built that way." And since then, I've met 2 other people who also have one kidney. So it is. I know that it's rare. But yeah, there's not much advantage to this. The one thing is I can't donate a kidney. That I know for sure. And my doctor said, yeah, you might want to avoid contact sports. Easy. And skydiving. Never even thought about it. I'm good with never doing it. Yeah. I can go see the IMAX movie that will make me sick from heights. So, yeah.
There you go. What might be your favorite movie quote?
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's "Let's get out of here." "Let's get out of here" is the most written line of dialogue in the movies.
Probably, yeah.
Which is why I end every episode of my podcast by saying, "Let's get out of here." That's what I say. Because I can show you every Star Wars movie, they say it. You look so many action movies, you could do a montage of people saying, "Let's get out of here." It's crazy. Interestingly, the line of dialogue that is the most written line in a script for television is, you'll never guess. You can guess. Just throw it.
I have to guess. Let's get out of here.
No, it's not. It's, what's that supposed to mean? Once you become aware of that these are the two most written lines, every time I see it, it bothers me.
Dang you, Chris Gore. Now I can never watch something the same way.
TV writer getting paid too much. You had to throw that in there. So now that I'm aware of it, it actually annoys me when I see it in a movie or a TV show because it's so cliche. So I won't say that I like it so much as I notice it, and these kind of things bother me.
If you were offered the chance to work with any actor or director, dead or alive, who might it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably Steven Soderbergh. I know that's a weird answer, but Soderbergh I love because he's the kind of guy who can do big budget Hollywood things with big stars, but like he still keeps like an indie film aesthetic as he's making the movie, so they don't feel like big budget movies. And then he'll also go make a movie like Bubble with non-actors. So Soderbergh's a guy that in fact, he back in the day, back in like 87 or 88, he bought an entire run of Film Threat magazines and sent me like a check, which I don't know if I ever cashed it, but it was really funny. He wrote me this note that was kind of a mean note. He was being sarcastic. And it was cool. And then I interviewed him years later, and he remembered that. He reminded me that he bought a full run of back issues of Film Threat at the time. And I've always admired him and his ability to just... his sort of rejection of Hollywood while at the same time using their money to make movies like recently Contagion. He's also a director that's hard to pin down. He's worked in multiple genres, caper films, character studies, comedies. I really love Soderbergh, yeah.
All right.
Weird answer, I know. Whenever I've seen you turn up in a movie, a TV show, I'm laughing before you're talking because...
That's why I didn't get on The Wire.
because you
I'm
have
supposed to be the gritty drug dealer.
Really?
No.
Have you tried your hand at drama? Because you see so many comedians cross over from comedy.
Well, I
to
would
drama.
like to, but it's kind of not up to me. People give simplistic advice. Tell your agent you should be on, Breaking Bad. But somehow I fell into the niche of the schmucky delivery guy, clerk, the awful blind date, and the nebbishy guy, and. I don't know how that happened. Maybe because I am that guy.
I went
to do the Change Up.
You did the Change Up in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, and it was cool because a lot of the extras were extras from The Walking Dead. So they told me a lot of cool stuff. Like they had to go to zombie school and learn how to walk like a zombie.
I've been to zombie school myself. I was in the remake of Night of the Living Dead,
wow.
directed by Tom Savini. It's basically you walk like you really have to go to the bathroom. Like you're just so tired and you're just like, wow, I got to do a number two. So that's pretty much the zombie walk, is that?
Right.
But
why am I accentuating on the negative? Listening to your great show, I got turned on. I didn't even know about Paul Scheer's show. It's amazing, so entertaining.
And you discovered the show from listening to PodCRASH.
Yes, I did. And, I just did a tweet about it. He tweets me right back, dude, love you to be on my show. So, and the Sex Sandra. So yours.
You should be on the Sex Nerd Sandra show. I feel like this has almost become the Make-A-Wish Foundation of podcasts in a way for you.
Yeah. I want to tell everyone we're Standing, which is the first podcast Standing.
Your actual name came up before I even met you. I was saying, why don't they just take one of these shitty, dumb romantic comedies that you see that Matthew McConaughey's always in, all right? And it's whatever it is. It's one of those dumb, we've seen them a million times.
Right.
And the only thing you do is just cast you in the lead. So it's just you saying, I don't know, I'm thinking we can have sex?
I love that idea.
Play it totally straight. Play it totally straight. And Matthew McConaughey is the ugly best friend. He's your ugly best friend, basically showing up like.
Could I say I love this? Someone else had a similar idea where it's like Lethal Weapon, and it's me throwing people over cars and people getting scared and they're running from me, and no one acknowledges he's a middle-aged, skinny Jewish guy. Why are we running from this guy? So same thing. But let me just tell you something.
What about the Bourne identity with you, the Stoller identity? Why not that?
Well, I love the idea, but can I tell you why not? Sure. Okay, this is a pitch meeting, okay?
Okay, all right, this is kind of a pitch.
All right. Let's say we're a big studio, Universal. Okay, all right, you have one pitch, you guys. All right, I'm Fred. Do you know me? I think I know you. Tell me where I know you from. Well, I was Raymond's cousin, and I was in Handy Manny playing a monkey wrench. Yeah. All right. You put $30 million into a movie. Buy the script again, which is, I'm shouting into it.
Yeah.
Buy the script again.
Yeah.
Which will be a few $100,000, and have sets to have some skinny guy reenact Matthew McConaughey. What would they? A Bourne Identity?
No, just get Matthew McConaughey. You should just get Matthew McConaughey to be in your movie. I would love that, but I think there's a bunch of romantic comedy scripts lying around that are unmade. I feel like you just get the most basic one that is by the numbers. We've seen it a million times. But you are the lead because I feel like you bring a sensibility to any scene. Because a lot of times I see you pop up in roles and you're on like for seconds, but you establish something so quickly because of your. No, but I mean like you have this thing where it's immediate when you come on the screen, where you have a presence.
Like on this podcast.
What might be the geekiest thing you've ever done?
Recently, or just in my life? I can't think of my life.
However you want to take that.
I mean, like I tricked out my car to be like the Batmobile. So, here, dumb story. I scraped the side, somehow the rear quarter panel on the passenger side of my car got scraped. Oh, I was parked in LA. That happens. And of course, it's one of those things where someone will look at it and go, hey, I can fix that for you. I have a scrape on my car. I don't care. And I already had gotten a dent on the back of my car, and I did the thing. People don't use bumper stickers in Los Angeles, but I do. I use them to hide dents. So I looked at this scrape in the back. It's like, well, I could spend $600 to get that fixed. Or I went on Etsy and I found these plastic stickers of bats, a swarm of bats, and I ordered 2 sets, one going in one direction, one the other. So the back of my quarter panel on the back of my car is a giant swarm of bats coming off the back, and it looks really badass. And then I just started adding other I have a bat logo in front. With all due respect to my Toyota RAV4 2006, I prefer Batman over the Toyota logo.
Of course.
I feel this is a very OCD strange thing about me is I don't like corporate logos. I like certain products like Burt's Bees, Purell. But why would I pay to advertise their stuff by having their branding? I'd never go to the Gap and wear a shirt that said Gap or G. So what I do is I peel off the labels of things and then I put stickers on stuff. So I'll have like a Batman sticker or a sticker of a pint of beer. Why? I like beer. I like Batman.
Sure, why not?
I know, it's weird. So most recently, I'd say the most recent weird thing is I took a Han Solo 12-inch in carbonite figure, used a Dremel to cut out Han Solo, and then I took a life cast of my face made when I was 22 years old and replaced my face with Han Solo. I can show it to you right now if you are willing to look at this. I have pictures because I save all my stuff in like albums of stuff that I've created. I'll fire up this thing. It's a little projector so everybody can see this. It's a really weird project, but I like to be, like they had this thing at the recent Star Wars celebration. Did anybody go there? No. Anyone go to that?
No.
You could get your face in carbonite. If you could dim the lights,
I heard about that.
I can show you some of this here.
We have the technology.
Booting up. We'll see what orientation I've got. So this is what I made, and I just encourage people to be creative. I'll show you some of this. So this is what it looks like, and this is
nice.
I spray painted it, so I embedded it looks like almost like a Mighty Mug, right? Because I kept the Han Solo hands, and then I antiqued it by putting a layer of black and then a layer of shellac. or a clear coat layer, and then that's the Han Solo in carbonite, and then there's my face in carbonite. And I have that like up on my wall as like an art piece. So
one of a kind.
It is kind of a one of a kind thing, and I do these projects constantly. Like I'm like, I just like to do nerdy projects. I'll show you a couple more. I love to clean, and so, but I also love Batman. How could I clean with Batman? Well, what I did was, I took a bottle of glass cleaner, added a Batman cowl to it. I'll find that one. I will find it, and then I made it look like a Batman cleaning bottle. I've got it here somewhere. I will find it. So yeah, I'm almost there. He said,
almost there. Stay on target. Stay on target.
Or no, wait. Here's something I made recently. Was I use a Bluetooth headset, although I like to call them blue douche headsets because they look. I mean, not a fan of them, but so. One thing I thought, well, like, I wonder would people be into this? This is some market research. I'm going to ask you guys right now. What I did was I took the thing which is called an ear loop, right? An ear loop is this thing that goes around the Bluetooth thing that fits inside of your earlobe, right? So it holds it in place. But I thought, wouldn't it be more fun to have like a bat wing version of that?
Ah,
so I just
that's so cool.
And I thought, like, would people buy that? I don't know. Yes. But then would they buy different versions? I just did that as a prototype.
Yes, you should do like an elf.
I could do elf. That's exactly it. Elf ears. I could do wings like Captain America. So I just sculpted a few prototypes, and that was one. Here's another thing. Okay, you're going to think this is very strange. As I was at Star Wars Celebration, you guys can do this. It's a very simple trick. It's a thing that is a product that's marketed. Oh, here I found my bat thing. So this is just fun. This is just like there. It's. All I did was just glue the cowl.
Very nice.
It's most of my stuff is like, I've got a glue gun. I could make that now when
I've got a glue gun and I know how to use it.
It's way more fun than just having a normal thing. I also put a cape on the back that I cut out of. Those are my cleaning bottles, actually.
So
I have
cool.
R2-D2 cleaning bottles, and which I made out of cup toppers. Do you remember those cup toppers that came out?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I made there. I wonder if I have a shot of my car that has the Batwing. I don't think I do, actually, unfortunately. But wait, what was I talking about before? I was going to go to some other pictures. I had something I wanted to show you. He said, Mr. ADD. Yeah. Oh, this is fun. I made this actually was in the LA Times. I always do a weird Halloween pumpkin. This year I did the Occupumpkin, which was the Occupy movement in the form of pumpkins. The year before that, I did the human Centi-pumpkin, which is that.
Oh.
What? Okay, so that's it for this week's episode of PodCRASH. I want to thank Steve Rickyberg from Geek Cred. You can find him at geekcred.net, on Twitter at Geek Cred, and you can also Geek Cred is on Facebook. And I want to thank Fred Stoller. But I want to talk to you more a little bit because we're hanging out in your apartment here. No, so look. Oh, you've got a Jay Moore story that I want to hear because I was just nominated for a Stitcher Award for Best New Show and Best Album Art, which you can go to. I think it's. I'll tweet out the link, but it's like
I voted for you.
You voted for me.
I voted for you for best album cover.
And well, I'm up against.
And unique.
Yes, I'm up against Jay Moore and Aisha Tyler in the Best New Show category. But I don't know. I think that they're way more famous than I am. I really feel like I've got no chance in that. I mean, I want to encourage all of my listeners to vote for me in that Stitcher Awards
what
thing.
I like about
and I appreciate your vote.
Is your show's the best of all of them.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you, Fred.
It's like how the Academy Awards wins an Oscar. No, it's not.
It's not like that. So if the Academy Awards, if they gave away awards to an awards show,
which they do,
the best of the awards shows.
That's funny.
They should do that. They should just do an awards. Well, that's kind
funny.
of like
that's a great idea.
If you come to this thing, which is Saturday, November 10th, 7 p.m. at IO West in Hollywood, 6366 Hollywood Boulevard. We've got limited tickets available to the public. Our podcast awards is going to be kind of a parody of an awards show in a way, but I really feel like they give so many awards, and I read something about this just from psychology. It's like people prefer actually recognition over money. Like if it's a matter of like getting some sort of recognition where you're
really?
Yeah,
You know what I found when
giving some award in front of your peers is better than dollars to people across the board. It's one of those weird statistics.
When I did stand-up comedy, I liked.
Do they give stand-up comedy awards?
No, but I like the
in any respect?
money if like they threw in a free T-shirt.
Well, you don't. It's just having done stand-up for as little as I have, which is almost 3 years now. Almost 3 years been doing stand-up. I feel like it's like you get nothing. You don't. First of all, you have to pay for your own beer.
Well,
actually, the best was Nerd Melt. I did the Nerd Melt show.
Well, that's why you got that $40 certificate.
I got the gift certificate, and I thank you very much. Nerd Melt show. So that's the only time I've ever walked out of a situation like that.
That's why I don't do stand up in L.A. You can't dabble. I get spoiled.
Well, it's more like practice. Doing stand up in L.A. is more like, aren't you just like practicing bits?
Yeah, I got spoiled. The '80s comedy boom. They didn't give you drink tickets. You just drank all you wanted, gave to friends. They'd feed you, even if you weren't on the show. There were more gigs, and there were comedians. You work a few nights a week. To get a gig, all you have to do is answer the phone. Then you get up here. It's like going from being, a basketball player to like being a boxer, where you get on, where you're vying for free and you have to do bringers, and So I was too spoiled. I had it pretty easily being the comedy boom.
Well, isn't it kind of like the whole industry is just like blown up now with social media? It's like anybody can sort of get up on there, and if you're fearless in front of an audience and can just talk, you can
everyone knows
be a comedian. I mean, I'm doing it now. This is how. Yeah, exactly. This is how. If I can do it, come on.
Mitchell, my cat, maybe wants to do it.
Mitchell. There should be a stand-up comedy show with pets. Why not? That could
nothing too ridiculous.
A friend of mine had a birthday party once for his car. Just because he wanted to have a party, that was his excuse. No, this friend of mine, John Barato, had a birthday party for his car. We all brought presents for his car and sang happy birthday to his car. We went out, we filmed videos of this. This was in the 90s when we would just do stupid. I was doing stupid things just for fun, not for any point, just because we were idiots. We did this thing where we edited a video of friends of mine where we took a porn film and we just edited close-ups of our faces into the porn, so it looked like we were all having sex together, but it was just the close-up. So whenever they cut to the close-up of the guy's face, it would be our face in the video.
My publicist,
among other dumb things that I've done for no point.
My publicist says I need a buzz and should have a sex.
You should have a sex tape,
and maybe I could hire that editor.
Right. So, all right. Well, let's a couple of things with PodCRASH. You can follow me on Twitter at that Chris Gore. You can follow the show at PodCRASH Show. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PodCRASH. You'll get more information about this show November 10th at IO West. And please go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Because more people will discover the show if they see those good reviews on iTunes. It boosts up our ranking. It really helps us out. And Fred, I really got to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. Like I said, it's entertaining. You turn me on to a lot of good stuff.
Cool.
And you may help me try to do my own thing.
I'm gonna help you with your podcast. I'm gonna help you with your podcast because I feel like there's a lot of comedians starting podcasts. You need a unique idea to do something different, and then it's got to be based around your personality. What?
I think I shot my wad with these little outros. But
no, you're good. You're good.
Can I repeat stories?
You can repeat it whatever you want.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And will you, for my audience's benefit, will you just say...
Let's get out of here!
Man is evil, capable of nothing but destruction. Bloody bastard.
In one of the countless billions of galaxies in the universe lies a medium-sized star, and one of its satellites, a green and insignificant planet, is now dead.
Hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me, or Fred Stoller, where you read the credits of movies. That's crazy. you're my kind of person. I like you. For that, you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, 90036. I will return your self-addressed stamped envelope with a surprise. Later, the one person that made me nervous one time was Angelina Jolie. I walk in the room, and usually when I interview someone of, this stature, celebrity, you've got 30 seconds to establish a rapport. So I like to just I'll be funny, I'll be myself. I try to be, relaxing. You sit down, you establish that quick rapport. You've got this much time to do it. And then, you fire away questions. And I usually like to have funny, unusual questions. I walk in and Angelina Jolie's like, hey, I like your jacket. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, thanks. Like, that's pretty awesome. And she's like talking to me about my jacket. Then I'm like starting to get all hot. And I'm like, I think she's like hitting on me. Angelina Jolie's like talking to me like I'm a person. She flipped it. She's talking to me. So then I start to interview her, and I start to stammer. I've never stammered interviewing anyone in my life. Then I'm like, she is exuding sexual energy here. It's as real as the fact that I'm wearing pants, I think, as I look down. So it was really disarming, and I stammered when I talked to her, and then I had to compose myself, and she's like, it's okay, you can start over. And she was so nice that made me even more nervous. Okay, so that basically is all the wraparounds for an episode of the show.